What's up, guys? It is a new week, and for the most part the 99 GTP's tuning is done, so I'm just waiting on an opportunity to take that back to the track and stuff. So today I thought what we might do is talk about the different brake setups that I have on these different cars and explain why I like the ones I have and kind of where I would rank them as far as other available brake setups and which ones I think are the best for the W body platforms. Okay, so I think first of all, at the lowest end of the table would be stock brakes. I don't think that W bodies, really any of them, came with adequate stock brakes, with the exception of the GXP Grand Prix. Those are some really nice stock brakes. But for any of your other models, even the dual piston ones with the Impalas, I still don't think those are as good as they can be. So stock, not my favorite. Moving up from there would be the brake setup that I've got on the Malibu currently, but I used to have on both the 07 and I also had it on the 99 at one point, and that is the F-Body Camaro front brakes. Now, F-Body brakes are a lot better than stock. They're also lighter than stock, which is nice, but they're not a lot bigger than stock. So that's why they're a little lower on the list, and they're not a direct bolt-on. They do require some modifications. You have to drill out the caliper brackets and tap them to the larger W-body bolts. So for a W-body, they're not quite as good, but I will say they are an exceptional upgrade for the end bodies, and they're a direct bolt-on for end bodies. So if you've got an end body like the Grand Am or the Malibu or the Alero, that is a great front brake setup for those. But as far as W body goes, I'm going to place those just above last, sort of. But I'm not going over every brake setup. I'm just using the ones that I've used. In that same ballpark, I'm going to say tied for about the same as the W body brakes, I'm going to go with the 08 and up Impala brakes. They are bigger. They are dual piston. They do have heavier calipers, so they're not quite as light as the F bodies. Stopping power wise, I thought they were pretty equivalent to the F body brakes. They do bolt right on though, which is nice, so you don't have to modify them. So they're kind of in that same ballpark. That's where I'll leave that one. Now, my two favorite brake setups we're going to talk about at the same time because they're so similar. One is what I have on the 99 here, which is the GXP brake setup. We'll take a look at that. GXP front brakes, which are cross drilled from the factory, dual piston aluminum calipers like the F bodies, but these are larger rotors that are thicker as well. And the advantage of the GXP having larger rear brakes, which are also cross drilled and vented, where the factory rear brakes are not. They are a single piece. So one big advantage here is that this is a car wide setup, which is pretty nice. And to date, as far as I know, really the only bolt-on rear brake upgrade for W bodies is the GXP rears, which do not work bolt-on anyway to an 04 through 08 Grand Prix. You do have to change the parking brake over if you're going to swap that. But if you have a 2003 or older Grand Prix, they will swap right onto the rears with no modification at all, basically. So that is a great brake setup. The only other brake setup I want to bring in, because I just recently got it and I have been just recently using it, is the GXP hybrid Cadillac ATS brake setup. So let's take a look at that. Now, aesthetically, these brakes are awesome. They look really, really good. Also, from a stopping power, brake pedal feel perspective, they are very good. If I was going only by brake pedal feel, 100%, those would be my favorite brakes. And they still kind of are. I really like the way the 07 feels now. I like how firm the brake pedal is and how quickly it stops. Really good brake setup. I'll say two downsides. One, it's an expensive setup. Two, it does not fit under a lot of wheels. With the wheels I have on there right now, I had to run a small spacer. With a lot of wheels, you're gonna have to do that. Most factory wheels will not fit over those calipers at all because the calipers are so big. In contrast to that, the GXP setup, which uses the exact same rotors as that setup, but the dual piston calipers instead of the 4-piston calipers, those fit under, as you can see right here, the stock 17s with no problem. So to rank these two, I think the brake pedal feel on the ATS setup is a little better. And because of that and the aesthetic upgrade, I do think it is a really good option if you have the money and if you have the wheels that will clear them. However, in overall value and performance, you cannot beat the GXP setup because it fits under your stock wheels, not 16s, but it fits under stock 17s, but it fits. It's almost a direct bolt-on. You do have to change the hoses over to GXP hoses, which is not a big deal. But other than that, it's direct bolt-on. It looks good, even though it doesn't look quite as good as the ATS setup. But it looks good, it fits, it's really convenient, and it's cheaper. If you can get these from the junkyard, they're super cheap. But either way, the calipers are not too bad as long as you can find them. They are getting a little bit harder to find. But so overall, I'm gonna rank them ATS setup second, but with a caveat, best if you have the money and the wheels. Because if that's not a deal breaker for you, or if that's not a problem, then they are exceptional brakes and you will like them better probably than the GXP setup. But number one for most people, if you want value for the dollar, GXP brakes, I still think are the best ones. They stop well, it has a decent brake pedal feel, they're big enough, they don't warp, they look good, they fit under stock wheels, and they don't require any modification to put them on the car. So I'm gonna call that the number one setup for now, unless I find another setup that's better. We'll see what happens. But that's how I feel about it. If you have any other questions about these, drop them down in the comments and I will be glad to answer as many questions as I can. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this list, and also what brake setup you're using and whether you think they're better or worse and why. But I'm out of here for this video. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. Drop me a like, drop me a comment. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and peace.